Let me introduce you Tom. Tom is from Just Breathe. He comes from Belgium. He is a breathworker, oxygen advantage instructor, Wim Hof Method instructor, and he is very passionate about sharing his knowledge about breathing, and he loves to teach people how to manage their mental and physical health by using their breath. So Tom, welcome here, and we are so glad to have you here. And now I will give you the word and the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I like to say I might look tired and I might have some trouble with coughing. I had a COVID infection like a few weeks ago, but it's still working in my body. So excuse me for that. Um, Second point I want to make is I'm a big fan of doing live trainings and one-on-one sessions and guidance and whatever you want, workshops. The past 2 years we've been forced into doing Zoom calls, and I'm starting to get used to that, although I'm not a big fan. And to be honest, this is the first webinar, so it's a bit strange if you see me looking around. I'm looking for the chat and the poll, and so there's a first time for everything. But I love being invited by Airofit. I'm a big fan of breathing technology, the tools, everything that can help us, that can help people get better at breathing. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Tom Stijven. I'm located in Belgium for the ones who didn't hear me when they came in. I'm 54, and like almost 8 years ago, I was getting troubled with illness. I got tired in the legs and constant fatigue, and went from doctor to doctor, and nobody could help me. Nobody had any answers for me, and like it was a period of 6 years, and my pains got worse, my fatigue got worse. I started losing weight. I couldn't function anymore. I had to shut down my business. And at the end of the road, my mama, saw a strange Dutch guy on television talking about having influence on your autonomic nervous system. And like it was, she said, well, the doctors can't help you. Maybe you should check out this guy. So I booked a full weekend with Wim Hof, and it was very intense. We did like walking and jogging and running through the woods and yoga in the grass fields, and did take my first ice bath. I got in and out in like 30 seconds. I couldn't take the pain. Um, Repeated it the next day, but I already felt well. And after that first weekend, like my life changed. My pain was gone. I felt energy again. I could move again. And like 3 months later, I was working full time again after closing down my own business. So it was like I was totally, it was totally mind blowing. And because I was impressed that much, I decided I wanted to become an instructor. So I've been doing that for the past 7 years. I call myself a breath coach, breath worker, and I use both terms because breath coach is like when you're dealing with stress and you're like an athlete, I can help you with your breathing. But I also call myself a breath worker, and I think the difference is when you're having like emotional baggage, trauma, PTSD, then you need more like a different approach, and that's why it's like a breath worker. So I've been doing it for the past 7 years, did all kinds of trainings, kept studying, gathering knowledge, and what we want to do today, what I like to share most in the first workshop, if you come to me for the first time, it's like the basics of breathing. What is a good breathing habit? What is healthy breathing? And what is the impact of bad breathing on your health? Bad breathing habits, that is. So I would like, without further introduction, I'm sorry, I'm not a native English speaker. You might hear that, of course. Um, what I always do in a workshop is like ask people how many times do you breathe during 1 minute? Like you're at rest, you're sitting down, probably most of you. So I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna use a simple stopwatch, and I'm gonna let it run for 1 minute. And during that minute, I want you to count your number of breaths. How many breaths do you take in 1 minute? without trying to interfere, like not going to meditate, or just try to observe how you are breathing right now. Okay, is that okay? So I'm going to count from 5 to 0, then I start my stopwatch, and it's my question to you: count your breaths during that 1 minute. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and start. 10 seconds to go. And stop. So now the question is, like, we're going to work with polls. Lenka is going to provide you with a choice. Like, the question is, did you breathe more than 12 times during this minute? Did you take more than 12 breaths? So the poll is here, it's coming on, so you can answer it. And if you like, you can also put the number in the chat, like how many breaths did you take? So we already got 26 answers. Okay, that's nice. It's nice to see that you're all active, that you're interacting with me. So I see 14 people saying they breathed more than 12 times, 15 already. So it's almost 50-50. It's almost 50-50, and almost 90% of the audience. So I'm looking at the numbers in the chat. It's like 5 breaths, 9, 6, 10, 23, 12. I see all kinds of answers. And the reason that I ask this is, if you're at peace, if you're at rest, then like 5 to 6 breaths is all you need. And 5 to 6 breaths means that you're breathing coherent with your heart. So it's like heart coherent breathing. It's like 5 to 6 breaths a minute, and that's more than enough. And when you do that slow breathing, then you stimulate your HRV, your heart rhythm variability. So it makes you more flexible and it makes you more healthy. And it's linked like this: if I breathe in, my heart rate goes up. And when I breathe out, my heart rate goes down. So there is always a different time between two heartbeats. And when I breathe slow, then I stimulate the HRV to be higher, so I'm healthier, I'm more flexible. And the opposite is like breathing too fast. It doesn't gain you any more oxygen. You don't gain more oxygen. If you have like a saturation meter, I don't know if you ever used one, like when you can see your heartbeat and you can see the percentage of oxygen in your blood. If you breathe fast, you don't gain in having more oxygen. Your saturation will be like 96, 97, 98% or 99. Whether I breathe 3 times a minute or I breathe 20 times a minute, it'll be the same. But the big difference is, if you breathe faster, you are over breathing and you are losing too much carbon dioxide, the CO2 in your blood. You're expelling too much CO2, and that is bad for your breath, for your health. You need the carbon dioxide inside your body, and it has a lot of positive functions. People think it's a waste gas, but we need it to function optimally. So overbreathing has different problems, like your blood pressure, your pH level, even anxiety is linked to overbreathing. Chronic overbreathing is almost like chronic hyperventilation. think the medical world, if a nurse observes your breaths and she sees you breathing like 10 to 14, then it's okay. But for me, anything above 12 is almost chronic hyperventilation, and you're fooling yourself, you're troubling your system, you're making it hard for your system to work optimally, because you need the carbon dioxide. And like I say, it's not just the waste gas. The carbon dioxide is like a vasodilator. It makes your veins open and close. So if you expel a lot of carbon dioxide, then your veins close a lot more, and it's harder for your heart to pump around your blood. And it's like 120,000 kilometers of veins that needs to be blooded. I will say it needs to be pumped around. So the harder it is for your heart if your veins are closing, and that's often the people who have cold feet and cold hand, that's linked to chronic overbreathing. And there are so many health issues, and we'll get back to that, but like your acidity in your blood, the pH level of your blood is linked to your carbon dioxide. Your body is always trying to maintain homeostasis, like they need the right pH level in your blood. And if you expel too much carbon dioxide, it's going to need some construction material from inside your body. So it's eating you alive to maintain your acidity. So that's just one. That was the first question about that 1 minute. I've got another one. The second question, for the second poll question where you can vote, is like, did you breathe through your nose or did you breathe through your mouth? So it's very, very important. So here we go again. You can vote. That's great. That's great. I can see that most people, like 80%, have been breathing through their nose, and that's a very good sign. You need to breathe through your nose. Your nose is for breathing, and your mouth is for feeding. If you breathe through your nose, then your body is regulating the humidity of the air that you're breathing. It's regulating the temperature. It's filtering out all like dusts, but also viruses and bacteria. And nose breathing is also linked to your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest. So that's very important to stay like in a good mood, in a good balanced situation for your body. It's like breathing through your nose. And nose breathing is also linked to belly breathing. Beside that, what most people don't know, but it's very important, is like in your nasal cavities, you produce nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a gas that's toxic outside of your body, but we produce it ourselves. And it takes care of like better blood distribution in your lungs. So not only the bottom part of your lungs, it's good blood flow, but all around through your lungs, so you can take in more air. The gas exchange will be better. So you need the nitric oxide, and it opens up the soft tissue in your airways. You can breathe better. If you have trouble breathing through your nose, but after a few breaths, then the airways will open up. And it's very important for people with asthma. Like if you have movement asthma, when you have trouble performing sports, when your airways seem to close and shut down, you have trouble breathing, you should breathe through your nose, because the nitric oxide will help you and open up your airways and take care of better blood circulation in your lungs. So that's a very important one. Now, of course, most people are talking about like they say, I'm breathing through my nose, but very often when you're not watching, or when you're doing something, or when you're sleeping, that's a big problem. I'll get back to that, but maybe we can do it right now. How about sleeping? Do you think you breathe through your nose when you're sleeping? Do you have trouble with snoring? But I'll get back to that. I'll go to question number 3. Question number 3 is even more important, about that 1 minute that we were observing your breath. Did you breathe in your chest or did you breathe in your belly? Did you use your diaphragm to breathe or did you breathe in your chest? So here we go for the next poll. You can put your answer in. Okay. So a lot of people are voting. Thank you for that. I love some interaction. It's a difference with a webinar and a Zoom call. I have no interaction. I have no visual. I can't see you. So it's like I'm teaching. I'm talking to a mirror, and it's very strange. But I'm very grateful for the interaction. So I see like 40% of the people answer that they're breathing into their chest. Like if you use your diaphragm, it's your primary breathing muscle. It's the most important muscle you can use to breathe, and it takes a lot less energy breathing in your diaphragm than breathing in your chest, because your diaphragm is like an umbrella if it's in rest. I don't know if you can see me at all, but if I like your diaphragm is like here, like an umbrella. It's the separation between your lungs and your heart and your intestines. So it's like this. And when I breathe, I do this. And I make room for my lungs to expand and take in air. And when I breathe out, it's just relaxing like. So this is your primary breathing muscle. And it's very important that your standard daily breathing in rest and peace is like breathing through your diaphragm. It's also linked to the rest and digest, and it stimulates the blood flow to your intestines because you are massaging your intestines by using your diaphragm. So a better functioning in your bowels, for your stomach, for your bowels, it's better to have a good blood flow here. And like the neurotransmitters that you need in your brain are being produced here. So by belly breathing, you're stimulating your body to optimize its function. So that's very, very important. And most people, I see people that are so, I would say, alienated from their body, they don't even know anymore how to breathe in their belly. And you see like paradoxal breathing, like breathing in when the belly goes in, and the strangest things you see happening, because when you're suffering like from stress, trauma, PTSD, or you're tempted to go to chest breathing because it creates action, it creates your fight and flight response. It's creating like action, but it's also adrenaline and cortisol, and it takes up a lot of more energy to use your intercostal muscles to breathe, to lift your chest. And it's costing you a lot of energy that you don't need to be consuming. You can save that by using your diaphragm, and it's far more optimal in your breathing. Often the people breathing in the chest are very often suffering from pain in the shoulders and the neck, because you're constantly using your chest to breathe, and it's not very healthy. Another disadvantage from chest breathing is like you're breathing in the upper side of your lungs, and the most efficient part of your lungs is in the lower 20%. So there the best gas exchange can take place. So belly breathing is in many ways a lot healthier for your body, and it's taking you away from your action, from your fight and flight, and it's taking you to your rest and digest more in balance. So you're more energy saving, and you're consuming a lot less energy with a much better gas exchange. So does that make any sense? So the most important is like stay away from the fight and flight. It's burning energy and it's costing you a lot of strain and stress. So train your diaphragm. And if you use an Airofit to train your respiratory muscles, you can train all of them. You can train your diaphragm, but you can also train. If I use my Airofit, it's gaining me strength, and I can feel it. Like my diaphragm became a lot stronger, and I can do a lot more powerful breathing. So my fourth question is: do you have an Airofit? Because we're in this community, But are you here because you're curious, or are you here? Do you already have an Airofit? That's my next poll question, poll number 4. Okay, so we're going up. It's like almost half, 30. Okay, 36. It's like almost 50-50. Well, I've got an offer for you. If you don't have an Airofit, now may be your chance, and we can offer you today a special offer, 10% off, using the link that will show up on your screen. I'm sure Lenka will take care of that. Like the 10% off for the people in Europe, that's almost 40 euros. I think it's more than $40. So it's quite a discount. So if you're in doubt, what can it do for you? You can train your muscles. You can do all kinds of breathing exercises in the program, on your app, on your phone. You can use it for a lot of good practice in becoming stronger in your breathing. If you're active in sports, I see people, a good friend of mine has a boxing club, an MMA fighter trainer. Those guys are training every single muscle in their body, and they're going deep and they're going hard. And I've never seen one training its muscles for breathing. So if you breathe better, if you have knowledge of breathing, then you can upgrade your performance. So take your shot, order an Airofit, take advantage of the discount, and it's a good offer. You should do it. And I think there's no good money back guarantee if you don't like it, but I'm sure you will be impressed by what it can do for you, especially with in the app. If you look at the different kind of guidance you can get, there are so many different breathing exercises in it. So it's a must. It's a must do. So don't doubt, just order one. Now, back to the breathing. If I say, like, we did very simple exercise, slow breathing, nose breathing, belly breathing. It's low in your belly. Train your muscles with the Airofit, but train breathing low. I can breathe in very different ways, and I don't know if I can demonstrate it, but using my diaphragm, I can breathe down in my belly. So breathe in and make room for my lungs to expand. But I can also breathe over here like this. So I'm not using this, but I'm using this. But I can also breathe on the side like this. And this is like every time I breathe into my belly, I'm supporting my spine. If there are people with always pain in the lower back, it's probably very often linked to the chest breathers, because you miss the pressure here. If I breathe with my diaphragm, I'm creating abdominal pressure, and that pressure is supporting my spine. So it's so beneficial for your health. It's crazy. So you can train on all these different ways of breathing. I had one guy had Crohn's disease, autoimmune disease, Crohn's disease, lazy bowel. I just taught him to breathe with his diaphragm without giving any space. And I don't know if I can demonstrate that, but if I can do like this. Normal breathing, you could say like a belly breathing is like this. Or I can breathe here. What I've been teaching that guy is like putting on abdominal tension on your muscles, like if you're doing a sit-up exercise. So you tension your muscles in your belly and then breathe with your diaphragm. So it goes like this. And you almost don't see any movement. So what is happening is like my intestines are being pushed together. It's like a deep tissue massage. It's creating a much better blood flow. This guy's symptoms, they almost disappeared. Like in 3 months' time, he said, it's mind-blowing. My life has changed. Crohn's disease, just tackled it by breathing. It's crazy. So, like what I said was like you breathe slow through your nose using your diaphragm. So you create the nitric oxide. You need that. You need to harvest the nitric oxide. If there are people like me and when you have COVID, you can stimulate the creation of nitric oxide by humming like a bee. It's an exercise from pranayama yoga. It's like 4,000 years old, something like that. But if you do like this, the humming creates like 15 times more nitric oxide, and it will upgrade your ability to uptake oxygen. So if you're having trouble breathing, if you're feeling tired from COVID, try this exercise. It will help you. Absolutely. I mean it. So, okay. Now there are a lot of questions passing. We'll get there. We'll get there in the last 15 minutes. What I want to say is like low in your belly, train your muscles, and like slow breathing, like the 5 times per minute breathing, keep the carbon dioxide in your body. And you can, like if you stop breathing, there will be an easy way of it won't take long before your body is trying to push you into breathing, like the breathing reflex is being triggered by the carbon dioxide in your blood. So if you stop breathing, the carbon dioxide is building up, and that's what triggering your breathing response. That's why you want to breathe, but you can regulate that. The people, when I asked them the first time, how many times did you breathe? If you breathe like 16, 18, 23 times a minute, it's either you're full of stress or your CO2 receptors, the guys who detect the amount of carbon dioxide in your blood, they are at a bad regulated, how do you say? They're not calibrated right. So you can retrain them by doing breath holds. And the breath holds, it's like in the Wim Hof method, but it's also in the Airofit. You can use breath holds to retrain the carbon dioxide receptors to slow down your normal breathing. And it's crazy what it will do for your health. Absolutely, I mean that. Now, I'm sorry, I'm a little side note. What I wanted to say, like, always use your nose for breathing. Even when working out, try to maintain slow breathing and nose breathing. Harvest the nitric oxide, keep in the carbon dioxide, and your body will function better. And it's a whole different, issue. Like, we can talk about the Bohr effect and why it's beneficial to breathe slow, but it will take too long. It will take us too far away. I have another question for you. If we're talking about nose breathing, do you nose breathe at night or do you breathe through your mouth? And the question is, do you wake up tired with a dry mouth? And it's not all the same symptoms, but if you recognize some of these symptoms, then you should put yes in the poll number 5. A dry mouth, need to pee, do you snore? Are you troubled with sleep apnea? Does your partner punch you because you're not breathing? Does he or she punch you when you're snoring? Most of that are symptoms of mouth breathing during the night. And it's costing you a lot of energy because the mouth breathing keeps your brain in a more active state, and it's a lot harder to go into a deep sleep. And like, tape your mouth. Easy, tape your mouth shut to go to sleep, and it will change the way you sleep, and it changes the way you wake up far more rested and far more comfortable. And it's crazy what it does for you. I did it first time like in February 2 years ago. For a whole month, every day I taped my mouth. It was crazy what it does to me, and I still do it a lot of time. So I'm going back to the poll. So I see a lot of people having one or more of these symptoms, indicating that they're probably breathing through their mouth at night. My real I really, really strongly advise that you try taping your mouth, and you can do that with an easy, like a tape, like micropore tape used to fasten band-aids. You can just put a little tape like this, or you can put a tape across your lips. And if you're anxious about doing that, thinking that you can't breathe, probably if you tape your mouth and your nose is a little congested, when you take 3 or 4 breaths, your nose will open up. The effect will be there. If you're anxious about going to sleep with your mouth closed, try it while you're reading a book or watching telly, like for 20 minutes. If you can take it for 20 minutes, then you can sleep like that. And it will change the way you wake up and you feel less tired. It's crazy what it does to a man. So, the most important lesson, and what little people know, is you can use your breath as the remote control for your brain. Like our autonomic nervous system is doing all those processes for us. I can't choose how to dilate my pupils. I can't choose when to digest my food or not. I can't activate or deactivate my immune system on command. It's my autonomic nervous system. But the only thing, I breathe for 25 or 30 times, 1,000 times a day, but I can choose how I breathe. And that is my way into my autonomic nervous system. This is my remote control for my health, for my state of mind. I can choose how I feel by choosing how I breathe. A very simple exercise. When you breathe in, your heart rate goes up. When you breathe out, your heart rate goes down. So simple exercises like 1-2 breathing. The ratio 1-2. My inhale and my exhale must be twice as long as my inhale, like this. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling stressed, if you're not feeling comfortable, try this exercise. Do that for 3 minutes and your body will slow down. You're taking advantage of the biology of how our body is functioning. It's not woo-woo, it's not, you have to believe it, it's pure biology. Use the biology and use your breath to control your system. We are living in a super modern world, and the crazy thing is, it should be the best times in humankind ever. And still, we're all stressed and we're having cardiovascular problems and we're having mental issues and we're all kinds of diseases. And why? Because we live in fight and flight. We lost the art of being balanced and slowing down and going to rest and digest. We live in fight and flight. We must do this, must do that, deadlines here, deadlines there. Kids have to go to school, bring them to the swimming class, go to soccer. I need to go to the gym and need to run for another 15 minutes. We need to do a lot of things. I think most important, we need to stop doing that. And when I was in South Africa at a breeding conference, I saw a very special guy, Michael Brown. And he said, like, we used to be human beings, but we evolved into human doings, and we need to stop doing and start being again. And that came to me like, whoa, he's so right. We are always doing, and we are, how do you say, sabotaging our own system. Evolutionary scene, we have a wonderful system, and we are masters in sabotaging it. Always in adrenaline, always in cortisol. Our bodies are under a lot of stress. We need to slow down and we need to go to rest and digest. And you can do that by using your breath. Slow down your system, go into a little meditation, do some breath holds, reprogram yourself. Use your breath. We live in fight and flight, and it's costing our health. So it's not very hard. You can do it whenever you want. You need to take in the carbon dioxide, slow down your breathing, sleep with your mouth taped, always nose breathe. It's simple things, very simple things. And I can do like very complicated exercises, balancing, alternate nostril breathing. There are so many different exercises that you can do to improve your breathing. And of course, you need the strength. When you're always here breathing, start training your your diaphragm. Buy an Airofit and train like 5 to 10 minutes a day. There's only 10 minutes a day you should breathe through your mouth, through your Airofit, and all the rest should be through your nose. And it's crazy what it can do for you. So time flies, and I'm always, I got like for 120 hours of material to keep talking. So I'll try to wind it down. I think I gave you the most important things. Try sometimes observe yourself. How am I breathing? How am I feeling? How do I want to feel? If you're feeling tired, if you have a dip, if you want some energy and you want to go further, then you can use your breath. Like if I do this, it's like Wim Hof breathing one-on-one, like this. If I do that for 1 minute, my body thinks, oh, there's action required. Am I walking stairs? Am I doing marathon? And what's going on? I need to pump up my energy. I need to speed up my heart rate, and you will be more active. You will be awakened. And if you're full of stress and you need to slow down, do the 1-2 breathing. There are so many things. You can all look it up on the internet. You can find it on YouTube. It's all there. But the most important thing that I can teach you today is like, think about your breathing. Remember, it is your remote control. If you have a problem here, you can solve it. 85% of your problems you can be solved with breathing. It's crazy what's going on with our mankind, what's going on in our Western society. We are killing ourselves with performance, 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 and we don't know, we forgot how to maintain our bodies. And it's quite easy. It's quite easy. So I think we're 45 minutes in. We started a little late, but I think maybe it's more interesting to go to the question and answers. So I'll see if Lenka is still with us. Do I search for the questions myself, or did you already register some? How are we going to do this?
Yes, thank you, Tom. That was awesome. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and
Yeah, thank you.
about how to breathe correctly. And yes, guys, feel free to share your questions in the chat. But in the meantime, I've gathered some questions before. So there was one question about chest and belly breathing. Is it the same principles when you do an exercise?
I'm not sure, like certain exercises, they should be done in your belly. And it's like some exercises are explicit for training your belly breathing, training your training your diaphragm, sorry. But on the other hand, if I teach people like the Wim Hof breathing, then Wim is he's a very nice comical guy. He said, breathe through whatever hole you like. It doesn't matter. If you do Wim Hof breathing, it's just an exercise. It's not your daily breathing. So when you do Wim Hof breathing, it's like 30 breaths, intense breaths. And it doesn't matter if it's through your nose, through your mouth, in your chest, or in your belly. If you have to think about it, then don't worry. If you have good control and you are a trained breather, then you go through your nose, from your belly up to your chest, into your head, into your shoulders. So you can do it, but it's not relevant. So it's just depending on which exercise we're talking about. If I want to create rest, like the 1-2 breathing, I would advise nose belly, because the nose is linked to rest and digest, the belly is linked to rest and digest, and the 1-2 ratio is linked to rest and digest. So it's 3 times the same effect. If I do 1-2 breathing through my mouth in my chest, I don't think it will work. So is that an answer to the question, do you think?
I believe so. Thank you.
Yeah.
Talking about belly breathing, there was a question about what is happening if you have a big belly. Is that a problem?
No, I don't think so. Because your diaphragm is like up here. And all you can do is create space. And of course, it might be harder if you have like a big, tight belly, then it might be harder to create space. But on the other hand, if you do breathe with your diaphragm and you have a tight, big belly, then you're extra massaging your intestines, so it will be beneficial. It might be harder in the beginning, but it's a muscle, you can train it.
Sir, thank you.
Yeah.
The next question says, it's easier for me to breathe from belly than diaphragm. What is that? Why is that?
I'm sorry?
Why is it easier for me to breathe from the belly instead of diaphragm? Why is that?
But I think if you do belly breathing, you are using your diaphragm. It's just like your diaphragm is moving down, and by moving your belly out, you're just creating space for your lungs to expand. So, but belly breathing, you can't use just your belly without your diaphragm, in my opinion. I'm not a biologist, but I don't think you can, like when I do belly breathing, I'm using this like, and of course my belly is expanding because I'm making room. And if I don't do that, if I put tension on my muscles, then it's harder for my diaphragm to massage, to make space for my lungs to expand. But I think belly breathing is using your diaphragm. So maybe it's just a little how do you say, misconception of what it is.
Right, thank you. The next question is interesting. When breathing in, I use the nose, but when exhaling, I use the mouth. Is that
Yeah,
wrong? Or is that
yeah.
correct?
I think that's most common. I think it's most common. I do the same. I do the same. Like my standard breathing, of course, when I sleep with my mouth taped, then I'm using nose in, nose out. But I don't think it's a big difference when you breathe out through your mouth, except maybe that you're losing more like moisture. Like it's more chance of dehydrating when you breathe out through your mouth. So that might be a big difference. But I don't think the most important is the in-breath through the nose. That's the most important, in
Perfect.
my opinion. In my opinion, of course, there are many opinions in this world, but I think with my experience, I think this is the most correct answer.
Perfect. Aaron asks, how do you train to breathe from the diaphragm? Do you have any tips, any specific exercises that makes you aware to breathe through diaphragm?
If it's really very hard for people to get out of their chest, first it might be lying down and really put your hands on your belly and try to move your hands with your belly. And your breathing, try to synchronize it. It will follow. It might take you some time to practice. If you're really stuck here, and I see people really like that. I see people that they say, I've been breathing my chest for the past 20 years due to abuse, stress, PTSD, doesn't matter what causes it. But if you're really stuck here, then it might be very hard to start learning to breathe with your diaphragm into your belly when you're sitting up. So first of all, lie down, use your hand as a guidance. Like you can use two hands. When I do this in workshops, I say, put one hand on your chest, one on your belly. Can you breathe without this hand moving? Like instead of this hand moving along. But it will take some time. It will reconnect. And that's why you see paradoxal breathing, like people trying to breathe in and pulling in their belly, and because they're alienated from how it works. But take your time, don't force it. Try it for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes every day. Build it up. It's okay. You got the time. You got the time. Just build it up. Lie down. Put your hands on your belly. Try to move your hands up and down and synchronize your breathing with it, and it will come back. It will come back. Your body knows how it works. It might be a little farther down in memories. You have to dig for it, but it will come back. Absolutely. Give it time and practice. Okay.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Here we have one from Manuel. Hi, I'm racing MTB marathon and have asthma. What do you think I should concentrate on? More lung volume with strength, breathing techniques. Do you have a special tip for endurance training?
I'm sorry, it's like asthma. Could you repeat it?
Definitely. I'm racing marathon and have asthma. What do you think I should concentrate on? More lung
Okay.
volume with strength or breathing techniques, do you have a special tip for endurance training in this stage?
Yeah, I think like the exercise-induced asthma, it's like probably you're breathing too fast and you're not breathing through your nose. So if you're running marathons, you need to slow down your breathing. Keep the carbon dioxide in and breathe through your nose. Especially breathe in through your nose. You need the nitric oxide because it will, how do you say, relax and expand the soft tissue in your airways. You can breathe better, and you need to keep the carbon dioxide in. Now, if you're used to running like, if you run like this, then you probably, if you start breathing through your nose and slower, like 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, or even 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, it will cost you speed in the beginning. It might take you months, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to reprogram your system, but then you will have, you will get rid of your asthma. Absolutely. I'm almost certain about that. If you have questions about that, start looking into Buteco or Oxygen Advantage. Absolutely. They are specialists in dealing with asthma. And it's all about tolerating carbon dioxide. The people in the beginning that were breathing like 16, 18, 20, 23 times, I saw 23 breaths a minute in rest. It's the carbon dioxide that's dysfunctional. So by retraining that, sport performance, slow through the nose and build up again. It will cost you speed in the beginning. You think I can do this, slow down and build it up again. Good luck. You can do this.
Thank you very much, Tom. Okay, I see that there are no more questions from our audience. So thank you very much for being here today. And I would like you to maybe summarize the key takeaways from this lesson and what the audience should take home with them. What are
Yeah,
the
okay.
what is the importance of what we talked about? What are the main takeaways?
Okay, like people underestimate the impact on their health of bad breathing habits. Bad breathing habits, mouth breathing, fast breathing, chest breathing. That summarizes almost all. So if you want to work on your health, nose breathing, tape your mouth at night, force the nose breathing when you sleep. Think about it during the day. Slow breathing, 5, 6 breaths a minute. Deep breathing. And deep breathing is not like that's a big breath. That's not deep breathing. Deep breathing is like using your diaphragm, using the bottom 20% of your lungs, the most, how you say, efficient part of your lungs. So that's very important. And don't forget that your way into your autonomic nervous system is your breath. You choose how you feel by choosing how you breathe. I think that's one of the most important things. If you realize that and you start training on that, then you can look up any exercise on the internet. Train your respiratory muscles. All kinds of people are training in sports and they're training their legs to go cycling, running, whatever, weightlifting, the back, whatever. But I see almost nobody training their respiratory system, their respiratory muscles. If I need action, of course, I need my chest to breathe. So my intercostal muscles need to be trained. They need to strengthen. And that's why this is such a magnificent tool. It's very hard to simulate that lying on a yoga mat. But if you do that like 5-10 minutes a day, it will make you so much stronger here in your diaphragm. It's crazy. And your intercostal muscles, because you can choose where you breathe. I think if you if you remember that, low, slow, deep, nose, and remote control. The remote control for your brain is your breath, and then you can take on anything. So look it up, look me up. If you want questions, you can go to my website, www.justbreathe.be from Belgium, and you can find my email address. Just ask me questions if you have doubts about something. It's no problem at all. And buy yourself an Airofit. Your health will be very thankful. Okay. So it was very nice. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. I love sharing this. So I hope you get something out of it, and I might inspire you to search and do something with it. Your health is in your hands. It's in your breath.